What is going on, guys? It's Lazarus here, back with another MLB The Show video, and today we are officially bringing back the roster update predictions. I haven't done one of these in like a year and a half to 2 years, so I might be a little rusty, and if that's the case, forgive me, but I did miss doing them, mostly because really any excuse to be a degenerate gambler, even if it's on MLB The Show, is a reason good enough for me. But it's always fun to try and play the market, see which guys are going to go up, and see which guys are going to make a, potentially big profit. So that's the main angle we're going to be approaching this from. Guys that I think will get you stubs if you invest in them, and I think it's going to be very fun for everybody. We have a lot of players to get through, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and just get straight into the players. So starting things off with the catcher position, we have Salvador Perez, who went on an absolute tear in 2020, returning back to his pre-Tommy John form, and in the last 2 weeks he's been very good as well, with the line of 327, 353, and 531, with 2 homers, and he's a very high ceiling guy. We know how good he could be. A couple years ago, he was one of the best catchers in all of baseball, and I don't see any reason why he can't return to that level if he stays consistent. For first base, the first guy we have is Cron with the Colorado Rockies. He had a pretty good 2020 with Detroit, and now since he's in Colorado, obviously his batting is probably going to get a little better, wink wink. So far this year, he's hitting 290, 394, and 889 with 5 homers and 15 RBIs, and he's currently sitting at a high silver, so I think with a little boost, he could have gold potential. I don't see any reason why he's going to stop since he's in Colorado, so I would definitely keep him on your radar. Next up at first base, we have Nate Lau, who's off to a very good start in 2021. He already got a +4 upgrade a few weeks ago, and he's been keeping it going in the last week, hitting 333, 429, and 500 with a couple homers and 3 RBIs. He's a very, very young player. He has some nice potential. I've always liked his bat. I've always liked his swing, and if he keeps it up, I could see him getting another little bump as he makes his way towards the silver tier. Moving on to second base, our first player is Nick Solak, who's had a very good start to 2021, as you can see by the player of the month card he got, and so far this year he's hitting 277, 353, and 467 with 7 homers and 19 RBIs, and he's probably not going gold quite yet. His defense is kind of holding him down there, but I do think he's going to get a few points, moving him up in the silver tier, and if he continues to be good and gets that defense a little sorted out, he could make the leap to gold eventually. The next second baseman we have is Jake Cronenworth with the San Diego Padres, and in the last week he's hitting 421, 476, and 632 with 1 home run and 4 RBIs. Now I don't think he's going to get a big upgrade. He's already sitting at an 80 overall gold, so I doubt he's going to make the jump to diamond unless he becomes a world beater. So I'd say +1, +2 at the most for this guy, but still a nice little bump for him. Moving on to third base, we have Kris Bryant, who's back on his MVP shit, and it's a contract year for him, so you know he's going to go ham. So far this year, he's hitting 308, 397, and 650 with 9 bombs and 22 RBIs, and obviously he's another guy we know he has the talent. He won an MVP years back, and if he stays consistent, I could see him going back to diamond. With all the injuries he's had the last few years, it makes sense that he's fallen off a bit, but so far this year he looks like he's back in form. Good investment opportunity right here. Next up, we have Josh Donaldson, who in the last week is absolutely killing it, hitting 313, 421, 625 with a homer and 3 RBIs, and he's another guy we all know his potential. If he gets back to that high level he played at years back, being a low level diamond isn't unrealistic for him. It's just a matter of staying on the field, staying healthy, and of course staying consistent. Duh. Next up, we have Charlie Culberson, who for some reason in the game is listed as a shortstop, but I'm pretty sure he plays third base the most, so we're listing him here. And he's off to a pretty good start in the last week, hitting 300, 364, and 500 with a home run, 2 RBIs. And on the season, he has an 868 OPS, a 141 OPS plus, and almost a 1 WAR in 24 games. And he's sitting at only a 72 overall bronze, so I think he's going to get a boost. I don't know if they'll put him in the silver tier just yet, but I think he's going to get close. Moving on to the shortstops, our first guy looking at here is Josh Rojas, who in the last 2 weeks has been absolutely cash money, hitting 385, 415, and 769 with 4 homers and 6 RBIs, and he's only sitting at a 66 overall right now, so I think he's going to get a nice boost. Maybe not quite to silver, but he'll get something real good for sure. Next up, we have Miguel Rojas, who in the last 2 weeks is doing very well too, hitting 295, 354, and 568 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs, and he's currently sitting at a 78 overall. He could get a boost to gold with continued good play, so I think if you're trying to make some stubs, this could be a solid, cheap investment opportunity. Not too much risk, but if he continues to play well, you could make some bank off of it. Moving on to the outfielders, we have quite a few players here, starting off with Yordan Alvarez of the Houston Astros, who was really good in 2019 and then got hurt in 2020, but he's picking it right back up from where he left off. In the last 2 weeks, he's hitting 477, 478, nice on base percentage, right? And 841 with 4 homers and 9 RBIs. And I think he's going to stay in the gold tier for now. He might get a little bump, but if he continues this, Diamond is not unrealistic, so definitely keep your eye out on him. Next up, we have Giancarlo Stanton, who actually got dropped -1 overall last update. Obviously not happy about that. So in the last 2 weeks, he decided to hit 440, 500, and 760 with 4 homers, 10 RBIs, and he had a nice hit streak going for a while there. I think it was like 12 games, and he's looked like an MVP this year so far, and I do think he'll be a diamond soon. I personally have a big position in Giancarlo Stanton cards, so I can personally recommend you guys to take up that bet right there. Next up, we have Adolis Garcia, who just got upgraded, but he continues to rake. In the last week, he's hitting 500, 520, and 917 with 3 home runs and 10 RBIs. And at the rate he's going, I think he's going to be a silver very soon. Obviously, it's still early. He's still young, so we don't know for sure. But he's really cheap, so I see this as being another low-risk investment and one that could definitely pay off. Next up on the list, we have Kyle Lewis, the former first-round pick by the Seattle Mariners, who in the last week is hitting 400, 455, and 600 with 1 homer and 3 RBIs. He's already sitting at a 78 overall. We know he has great talent and great potential, and if he lives up to that, which so far this year he's been doing a pretty good job, I could see him making the jump to gold very soon, and I would definitely invest in him if I was you guys. Next up, we have Willie Calhoun of the Texas Rangers, who's had a very good week, hitting 350, 435, and 550 with 1 homer and 3 RBIs. He showed really good potential in 2019. He actually had a really solid year, but this year he's only a 70 overall, so I think this could be a good value buy. He's really cheap, and if you want to hold on to his cards for a while, definitely do that, because if he plays like he did in 2019, he is nowhere near 70. He is much better than that. Next up, we have Kai Tom on the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm pretty sure I pronounced his name wrong, my bad, dude. But in the last week, he's hitting 267, 429, 533 with a homer and 4 RBIs. He's only a 63 overall. He's probably going to get bumped a bit. The way he's played so far just does not match up with that overall. So I don't think anything crazy is going to happen with him, but he will get boosted. And our last outfielder is Hunter Renfroe from the Boston Red Sox. And he's another guy whose bat I've always liked. In the last week, he's hitting 296, 296, and 556 with 2 homers and 6 RBIs. He's currently sitting at a 78 overall silver. So if he continues to hit, which in Fenway Park, I could definitely see it happening. I could definitely see him making the leap to gold. So that's another guy I would definitely keep an eye out on. Now moving on to the starters, we're going to pick things up with Zack Wheeler, who's off to a tremendous start this year. That signing by the Phillies is looking real good right now. In the last 2 weeks, he has 24 innings pitched, a 1.88 ERA, a 0.63 whip, 23 strikeouts, and a 141 opponent average. He's been on the money this year. He could very well make the leap to gold, and if he does, I would not be surprised whatsoever. Next up, we have Tyler Anderson, who's doing very well on the Pittsburgh Pirates right now. In the last 2 weeks, he has 20 2/3 innings pitched, a 2.18 ERA, a 0.73 FIP, a 130 opponent average, and a 16-6 strikeout to walk ratio. He's a low bronze right now, so I think he's going to get a nice little bump. Maybe not to silver, but he'll definitely get very close. Next up, we have Corey Kluber, who just got downgraded, and pretty much as soon as that happened, he started turning up. In the last 2 weeks, 20 1/3 innings pitched, a 1.33 ERA, a 0.98 whip, a 192 opponent average, and a 21-6 strikeout to walk ratio. He's had some really good games where he's looked like Cy Kluber. And listen, even if he's not at Cy Young level, even if he's at like 75% of that, he could definitely make it back to gold and still be very effective. And based on how he's looked so far this year, I could definitely see that happening. And our last starting pitcher is Jose Urquidy, another name I probably absolutely butchered, but in the last 2 weeks, he's been very good. 20 innings pitched, a 1.80 ERA, a 0.75 whip, a 181 opponent average. He was really good in 2020, and right now he's sitting at a 75 silver. And if he continues to step up in the absence of Justin Verlander, I could definitely see him hitting gold. I mean, if the past 2 years have shown us anything, it's that this guy is actually pretty good, and if he continues, I think he's well on his way there. And finally, moving on to the relief pitchers. The first guy we have is Bryan Abreu, also of the Houston Astros, who's been lights out the past 2 weeks. 7.1 innings pitched, a 1.23 ERA, a 1.09 whip, a 192 opponent average, and a 10-3 strikeout to walk ratio. He's only a 61 overall common, so he's going to get a nice bump. I definitely think he's going to get moved up to bronze, and if he continues to pitch like this, definitely keep your eye out on him. Next up, we have Ian Kennedy, who's now a reliever on the Texas Rangers, who in the last 2 weeks, 7 innings pitched, a 1.29 ERA, a 0.71 whip, a 130 opponent average, 9 strikeouts, 2 walks, has very nice stats on the overall season too, and he's only a 69 overall, so I think he's going to get a nice little bump. And our last player is Trevor May, the Twitch streamer himself. Hit me up if you want to collab, my guy. And he's off to a great start in 2021. In the last week, 7 innings pitched, has not allowed a single earned run, a 0.43 whip, a 125 opponent average. Really good stats on the season too. His ERA is sitting at 1.46, and he's an 81 gold right now. I don't think he's going diamond, but I do think he'll be getting a little boost. Well guys, it's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Let me know in the comment section down below, who do you think is going to be getting upgraded this week? Do you agree with my picks? Do you disagree with my picks? Let me know. Let's have a discussion. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there, guys. Peace.